Troy, welcome to the show. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm actually doing great.
Excellent. And you're coming to us from South Carolina, correct?
That's correct.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to kick things off. We got a series of questions for you. You went to South Carolina, and one of the keynote players in this draft is J.C. Horn. So I wanted to know your thoughts on his perspective in the NFL, and if there's any possibility you think he winds up in purple.
Purple is pick and win.
14. And we suddenly might need a corner because of events this last week.
I don't think he'll make it to 14.
Okay, fair enough.
I think he's a great player, and a lot of teams before Minnesota need corners. And I think Arizona picks before Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. Are they after us?
I can't remember.
They're after.
I think they're a couple after.
Well, Arizona was the team that I thought he was going to make it to, but all the mock drafts that I've been seeing that Minnesota's getting another receiver. So that probably kind of threw me for a loop. But if y'all need corners, I believe J.C. Horn is the guy that'll make it happen for Minnesota.
Do you have him as the top corner in this class?
I don't.
Ooh. Who the hell is?
What is it? Patrick Surtain?
Mm-hmm. Caleb
I
Farley.
think that's the guy who I got. But he's second.
Okay. And then Farley probably third.
I actually have Asante Samuel Jr. Third.
Ooh. Wow.
The top three with the bloodlines.
Right. I agree.
The Cardinals pick 16. So barring a trade. But I know that they're probably in the market for a corner with Peterson leaving for us. But
and did Minnesota just get Peterson, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
would it be smart to pick another corner?
Well, with Jeff Gladney's news this week, you can't put it off the table anymore. So
understood.
You can never be too deep at that position when you're going up against Aaron Rodgers twice a year. So.
And plus,
our offensive line, you can never have too many offensive linemen. I agree.
Right. That's where I 100% think we need offensive line at 14. But now who knows? So
our head coach has a very pronounced fetish for cornerbacks in the first round. So if anybody's going to do it, even though they're kind of deep already, it's going to be this man.
Right. So. Come in. I'm sorry. I got people knocking at my door.
It's all good. This is informal. All right, Sally, what do you got for Troy?
Well, first of all, I love the fetish description. That's pretty accurate. But I wouldn't use that word, but it's good. So, Troy, just to touch on the draft, I'm curious, what was your experience like back in 2005? Was that a really nerve-wracking time leading up to it, just all the uncertainty? And did you have an idea where you were going to be drafted? Did you have a preference where you were going? Walk us through that.
Well, for me, that's so long ago. I mean, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I knew that I probably would make it. I wouldn't make it past Washington. I met with Minnesota, but I didn't fly into Minnesota. So I didn't kind of know where they were up until I got the phone call. And then I kind of knew that I was about to be picked by Minnesota. I knew it between me and was it Mike Williams at the time?
Okay, USC.
So I knew it between us who Minnesota was going to pick at that time.
Mm-hmm. Did you think you would go in the first round? Did you?
I knew I was going to go in the first round. I just didn't know where.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was going to be top 10 or not.
Okay.
So yeah.
So now, as a wide receiver, like obviously the transition from college ranks to the NFL is tough at any position, but it seems like wide receiver is one where that can be tough or can be more tough than other positions because
Maybe
of the.
That's not true.
Well,
so that's what because I looked at some of the receivers that came in this year. Justin Jefferson for one.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy that came in and really showed that he can play. And you got some other guys like CD Lamb and some guys from Bama that you know that can play. And while I'm gonna piggyback on that, I know for me when I was coming in, I can always say that now that I look back and I can recall that I can say that I wasn't ready mentally to be in that position, to be drafted at number 7, and then try to come in and replace a guy like a Randy Moss. I know I wasn't ready mentally to be put in that position to put in the work that I needed to do to be able to do that. Didn't know what it took to be able to take over that position.
Now, did that you actually kind of answered that question along with one of my other questions, but I'll kind of piggyback on that now. With that being said, like with the whole, we as Vikings fans are aware, like, Randy Moss is a god in this town.
No doubt.
So was that something that put added pressure on you that probably wasn't fair to you? The fact that we traded Randy Moss, essentially got you, but no one can compare to Randy Moss. Like, did that put added pressure on it?
It's really, I guess, how would I put it? I wanted to be drafted high, the highest team that wanted to pick me, but I don't know if I wanted to actually come in and try to replace a guy like Randy Moss.
Right.
I can say that as far as I can mentally was not ready. I can go back and look at my career and how I played in college, how I played in high school. I was mentally ready to come in and just play. No pressure, go in and perform and do what you got to do. Now, when you get to the stage of playing in the National Football League, you have a guy that you looked up to, a guy that you look at as a god, that you can say that as could be the best receiver that ever played the game of in the NFL. He's second to Jerry Rice to me, but he's
in the conversation. Yeah,
right. I agree. So, but I can say I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it probably through this whole thing. I wasn't mentally ready to be put in that position.
That's fair.
All right, B Mac joined us. What up, big man?
Big Mac.
Hey, sorry, I was being late.
It's the first time for everything. We were just we were hoping you didn't no show and put Troy in an awkward spot with all these weirdos.
It's okay. No. I know how to handle myself in the room.
Yeah, people knocking at your doors and everything.
Right.
All right, Alexis, what do you got for Troy and/or Bryant?
Okay, Troy, nice meeting you. I have a couple. I think I'm going to flip-flop here since we're talking about Randy Moss. Do you think your time in the NFL would have ended differently if Minnesota hadn't been the team that drafted you first?
Who knows? That's a question that when I first left the league that I would ask myself all the time, but you can ask yourself that question over and over and over. What happened. I got drafted number 7 overall to Minnesota to replace a guy like Randy Moss. I didn't live up to the hype. It is what it is. And I let the chips fall the way they fell, and I got to live with that.
Right.
Okay. Well, so you're drafted in 2005. Your first year with your first year with the team. You have Mike Tice, who, in my opinion, was unjustly and unfortunately fired. At the end of the year, and then Brad Childress comes in and takes over the team. And we can touch on that a little bit later, the specifics of what went down there. But what was that like, the culture change? And Bryant, I'm wondering for you too, just the culture change in the locker room the following year. Was that hard to adjust to?
Big Mac, you gonna take that?
Yeah, for me it was because I actually was a guy who liked Mike Tice. And I was open at the beginning to the new coach, but like I keep saying, he rubbed me and I know Dante the wrong way from the beginning. I kept calling him Don and they kept calling me Trey Thomas. I felt like that was an insult. And I understand you came from Philly, so you used to talking to him, but clearly we're not those individuals. And I felt like you were being smart. So, and then I just felt like he had like an arrogance about himself, because one of the things he said when he got there was like, we're going to be a great team without no-name players. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, because eventually somebody's going to make a name for themselves. So you can't be a great team with a bunch of no-name players. Like, it just didn't make sense. But that was his philosophy at first, until you end up, getting other people and adding them on to the mix. But it was just
I was going to say, piggybacking off on that, like, so Tice was known for being an offensive line guy. So that makes sense as to why you would be fond of him. Now, Troy, how did that go for a wide receiver and being in the wide receiver room? Did Mike Tice's knowledge help? Okay, but like, did his football, I guess I'm not familiar with Mike Tice's football acumen, other than I was a fan of his as well, but did that help translate to the wide receiver room as well, or is he strictly an offensive line guy?
It wasn't just, I wouldn't even say just a wide receiver room. Just a team in general, just being a team that he's a player's coach, somebody who's played before and know what it takes to do it at the highest level. So, but Mike Tice done it for me. He won me over when he drafted me 7.
Okay. So do you think someone like Tice?
I was gonna ride with him until I couldn't ride with him no more. That was enough for me.
Do you think someone like Tice, like it seems like nowadays a lot of the coaches that are those hot names are those player coaches, those ones that players are fond of? Do you think Tice would have more success now than he did in the mid 2000s?
I think so. I mean, just the type of player, just the type of coach he was, and the type of players that he had around him. When I came in, I mean, you talk about guys like Antoine Winfield, Brian McKinney, Marcus Robinson, Nate Burleson, some of those guys that we can look up to and be, have leaders that we can look up to.
I'm willing to bet that Sally's going to come back to the Childress topic a little bit later because it's supremely fascinating to her. But for a moment, in case we forget, I want to take us back to present day. And I know we haven't had a draft that will happen 3 weeks from tomorrow. But what would you say are your expectations for the 2021 Vikings with the current roster?
Is that me or Big Mac?
You, if that's all right.
If I'm looking at the Vikings from where I'm sitting, I would always go offensive line. I'm giving it to the Brian McKinney. I mean, a guy that played the position for a long time, and to be able to protect the quarterback and be able to make things happen. That's what I believe. And like we said before, you can never have too many offensive linemen to come in and be able to play and step in and to be able to do a good job for an organization like that.
We feel the same way. We feel offensive linemen needy, especially in the last half decade. On the same topic, sir, what about your general opinion of the quarterback, Kirk Cousins? What say you?
That's
a long pause.
I'm gonna pass it to Big Mac.
Well, they know how I feel about him already, so that's why you're here as our guest. So we want to know how you feel.
I don't know how you feel.
I love this right now.
Think about it. I know Minnesota has a strong run game. And what I don't want to do is, because I know how I was as a player and people looking down on you and judging you, but they just really don't know the pressure that you up under. So I don't want to put, or say the wrong things about Kirk Cousins because I don't know what he's going through, what he has to deal with. With me saying that, we got a strong run game, but I believe if we had somebody at another position that was a little bit stronger, that would put us over the top.
Wow, this is like, you should go into South Carolina politics. That was a wonderful answer to imply.
So eloquent.
It was. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a compliment. I'm a political scientist by trade, so I'm particularly impressed by it.
Well, I appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
So now kind of switching gears, kind of going to mixed bag, both with your past and with the draft coming up with the current outlook for the team. As a player, and Brian, you can touch on this as well. Do you guys get too much into the weeds as far as like where you think that the team should go rather than what they would do? Like, say they're deep, like being on offense. It's like, hey, why not just stockpile the offense and forget about the defense? Or do you look at it as, hey, the defense might be a little weaker, why don't we try to plug some holes there? Do you guys have opinions on that, or do you just go out there and handle your business?
I think far as like the draft, you kind of have an idea of what you think they should draft, but that doesn't always happen because sometimes somebody that's at a better value is available, so they may take that person. But in your mind, you feel like certain areas could be improved, so you think you'll do it during the draft. So it always depends on who's available, at our pick, and then it can go your way, and they can go at random direction too.
As long as they're not drafting someone to replace you, right?
Right.
Am I up next?
Yeah, you want to touch on that? Have at it. You're the guest.
Oh, okay. I mean, my thing is that when it comes to the draft and when it comes to a team that you follow, my thing is everybody says a copycat league, and you're gonna see what everybody wants this year. They're gonna want a quarterback. I think that the top 5 out of top 5 picks, you're gonna get 4 quarterbacks draft. That's just my opinion. But after that, I think a lot of defense coming off the board because they're gonna look at what Tampa Bay has done when it comes to being able to play the defense that they played in the Super Bowl against a team like Kansas City, and to be able to put some pieces in place to be able to stop some of these quarterbacks that's being drafted and some of the guys that's in the league now that's established. That it's how we're going to be able to stop them.
When I want to point this out for anybody that listens to this on audio only before we get to Alexa's next question. Troy is wearing a Goonies t-shirt.
I am.
I did not expect
I am.
that sort of apparel, but I am also impressed by that. So is there a little backstory? You just enjoy the movie?
It's for one, I got this shirt from Target. So I love shopping t-shirts at Target.
Yeah.
So I love Target t-shirt because they fit like athletic. They show all the workouts that I do. So I want to make sure I show off my muscles and stuff. So Target got the best t-shirts, but I also love the Goonies movie. So it kind of play hand in hand.
Yeah, it's best of both worlds.
We're all in that same era of the timeline. So
all right, Alexis, what's your next thing for Troy or Bryant?
I'm going to stick to future and ask Troy, what have you been doing since leaving the NFL? I heard a sandwich business.
Yes, we had a sandwich business. We ended up selling it.
Okay.
Because we didn't really want to do the day-to-day.
Right.
We got 4 kids. Me and the wife got 4 kids, so they kind of keep us
I got
busy.
2. I got it. I understand.
So we end up selling that. Right now, I do a lot of motivational speaking, going into high schools, talking to the military, talking to colleges. That's my main focus. But with COVID, I just been pretty much just been chilling with the family. I had the opportunity. I have the opportunity to be able to, in draft 7th, I was able to take care of what I was given, invest, and being able to chill out for a little bit to be able to
until
COVID lifts, and I'll be able to get back on this thing you call a grind.
Right.
Troy, I think you and I are about 5 months apart in terms of age. How old are your kids?
Oh my God! Why you gotta put me on the spot? That's a question you asked the wife. But anyway, I got a 7-year-old, I got a 10-year-old, I got an 11-year-old, and I got a 13-year-old.
Oh, okay. So kind of bunched in there. That's excellent.
They kind of keep us busy. That's what they do.
Yeah. No.
I bet.
So we got football, we got track, we got soccer, we got cheerleading, it's just a lot of stuff. I mean, and I enjoy it. That's my second job. So I really enjoy it.
Do they understand your Goonies shirt?
They don't.
They don't. Well, you got to educate.
I know, right? We need to sit down and watch that movie. We probably would do that.
All right. Excellent. All right, Sally, what do you got?
All right, Troy. Well, I got to be honest. I'm a little disappointed that you don't have the Witch anymore because I'm a real big fan. I'm a big fan. It's the best.
I'm still a big fan too.
Yeah, it's the best sandwich chain around, and a lot of people don't know about it. We only have one here, so I was hoping I could pressure you to open one here, but I guess not.
But I mean, it's still a possibility. I mean, if I can find somebody to run it, it could be a possibility.
I'll run it for you. I'm not passionate about Witch.
Okay, that might can work.
No, I used to work next door to one for a few years, and you just never get sick of it. There's so many.
I agree. So many options.
Woo! All right. Well, I don't know if we should get back into this because it's been so fun. But
go ahead.
Go ahead.
So going back to Brad Childress, obviously he was a difficult guy to work with. Obviously.
In the morning, he was going for a walk and he saw a dog.
You can mute Alexis. There you go.
Yeah, you can mute. Okay, so obviously it was pretty obvious he was a difficult guy to work with, but it seems like he singled you out a lot and you received the brunt of his wrath. And I remember the story about you having to leave because your family was dealing with a tragedy. You were losing someone that was very close to you. And he not only chastised you publicly for that, but he also then punished you monetarily with taking your game check until Bryant and some other guys stepped in and talked some sense into him, which I would like to hear about. But what was it like to return to that atmosphere, knowing that someone who's supposed to support you has no sympathy for you, no empathy for you, and how does that affect you mentally?
Can I say something too, though? Because I had a high school friend pass away during, we were in training camp, and I wanted to go to the funeral with somebody from high school I grew up with, and he made me make a decision, like you're letting everybody, and made me feel guilty, and I didn't go. You know what I'm saying? I had to send some stuff to take care of the funeral, but made me feel guilty, and I was like, this is preseason, like it's not like a regular season, like this is where it's a preseason game. Man. And I could not leave. He made me feel so bad for even asking to leave. So I do want to hear Troy's response to that because Troy left, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like you should have, because I look back now like I should have left too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's inhumane.
But that was like to me, that was like bad. And like and because I didn't leave, I guess it didn't make the news of the media because I just decided to stay. Right. But like a lot of people didn't even know, like, this is somebody I grew up with. and this is a preseason. Like, you know what I
Preseason
mean?
or not, like,
And
I
I
mean, you
couldn't
got
even
to
go.
handle your stuff. That's unacceptable.
Right. So I kind of understand. I kind of feel him on that situation too, and definitely was going to be somebody who speaks up, because how can you tell somebody that they can't visit, pay their respects to a friend or a family member? Like, come on, who does that?
No fan in the world is ever going to be mad that a player misses because of a funeral.
Right.
If they are, then they're like, they don't deserve to ever watch or anything, like, in my opinion. So,
well, I just wonder, how do you trust a guy like that afterwards when you know he doesn't have your back? How are you supposed to have his back? Is what I'm getting at,
Well, you don't. That when I came back, what happened before, when we sat down and he was like, Troy, you can go down. Because he gave me the option to go. Like, go down for a day and come back. I need you back. Mm-hmm. So I told him, like, it's not gonna work that way. Like, this is my grandma, like somebody that helped raise me. Mm-hmm. So you just don't go and then come back. Right. Like, I need time to mourn. And you gotta understand, people handle these situations different. Like, I've seen guys lose somebody and they want to play, but that wasn't me. Yeah. The reason why I can say that is because maybe, things weren't going the way I needed to go. And maybe I just needed to get away and I need to be around family. But when I left, and what happened was my position coach told me to leave. He was like, go, and we'll handle it when you get back. Mm-hmm. So I jumped on the flight and I left, and I hadn't even talked to Coach Childress. So I went, stayed gone for a week, missed the game, came back. And when I got back, he sat in his office. He said, Troy, I'm gonna take your game check. I'm like, you can take the rest of my money for the rest of the year. It wouldn't matter to me. But the reason being, because this is my grandma. Like, this is somebody that raised me, somebody who took care of me, somebody that I love, and nothing that you can do gonna make me feel any type of way for going. So that's when Brian McKinnie, Antoine Winfield, and a bunch of other guys stepped up and actually helped me get my game check back, when we ended up donating anyway to the Boys and Girls Club.
Wow. Well, so kudos to you, Big Mac. So I had to step in and be a true leader. So.
Yeah, that was big. I really do appreciate that.
We don't need to call him Coach Childress anymore, because he sounds like a jackass. We can just call him or Brian, right, Brian? Or not Brian. We can call him Bruce or something. So.
And that's why I said that when I got to Jacksonville and Minnesota was coming to Jacksonville, I told him I'd meet him on the 50-yard line, because I was serious. Because and another player's coach, Coach Del Rio, which is another coach that I admire, and another a great coach. I mean, because he's a player coach, a guy who played at the highest level, know what it takes to be a football player, and also what it takes to stay in the league. I mean, with him being a coach as long as he's been a coach. He told me, Troy, we're not going to dress you. We're just going to let you chill, because it was serious for me. Like, I really wanted to take this man's neck, his head off his neck. No doubt.
Understand.
But
was that based on the issue with your grandmother, or was that just a buildup of years of animosity towards him and how he treated you?
Just a little bit of everything. But the biggest thing was with my grandma. Mm-hmm. Don't give me no ultimatum when it comes to that.
Right.
Don't do that. I mean, obviously you don't value family like I value family. That just because you don't mean you should take that away from me.
Yeah, I think
that's how I felt.
I think even the non-football players on this show tonight can relate in real life, like, with managers they've accrued over these adult years, where in a bereavement situation, or really anything in that same realm, like, there's some managers, directors, CEOs that will say, take as much time as you need. I get it. And there's some that will say, well, let me check the handbook and see how much time you have and see if we can accommodate that. And It's really just I don't know. I perceive it as a character trait, a litmus test on whether or not that person has a soul. Because if you're focused on, like, well, how long can we be without her? It's lunacy to be thinking about work during a time like that. So yeah. We're with you, Troy. Alexis, what do you got for both Bryant and Troy tonight?
Well, I was going with the whole storyline back then when that all happened, with the wanting to duke it out with Brad, and that saying that seemed to stick with everyone. did you move past it easily? I mean, you obviously didn't interact with him ever again. Did he ever try to speak to you about it?
No, I don't think he want to speak to me. The thing about it is, I meet him on the 50-yard line right now. That's how I still feel. No doubt. That's just me. And I feel like he don't have to apologize, but I can beat the apology out of him if I need to, if that need be. So that's how I feel.
Right. He should have. I mean, I would have apologized.
But he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that has that in him.
He has too much pride. It's too much pride.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even just pride. It just doesn't seem like he has that part of his brain that he's able to emphasize with other people. Yeah, and I don't know how you can get motivated by somebody like that.
Right.
I think there's a distinction that should be made too, that we hear, especially back in those days and a lot of them before that. There are hard-nosed coaches like Parcells and Belichick now, or even ours, Zimmer. But there's a fine line between being a prick and being a hard-nosed football coach. And it seems like it was both, or a wannabe hard-nosed football coach that would do stuff like this, which is just unfathomable to me. But we don't have to worry about him anymore.
I feel like a hard-nosed coach is somebody who, like, tough and practice things like that. But when you have personal issues on the side, they kind of understand and allow you to deal with the issue and know you'll be right back as soon as you can. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Well, it's probably telling as to why he's never had another crack at being a head coach. Like, so maybe he's got the knowledge in the world, all the knowledge in the world to be a quality assistant, but there's a reason why he's not being hired again. So, Troy, thanks for sharing your experience on that. Cause I think all of us had questions regarding that. So, obviously we were all on your side on that because even of what we read on the media, like, it sounded like a very cold situation to be a part of. And, so you touched on it already a little bit on, like, you didn't think you were mentally prepared to be drafted, especially as high as you did, but taking the knowledge that you had throughout, that you gained in the NFL. I mean, obviously that's a fantastic goal to accomplish in its own right, just making it to the NFL. But if you were to go back and restart your career with the knowledge that you gained while in the NFL, how do you think your career would have played out differently?
I don't know, because I was dealing with a lot of other demons outside of me not being mentally ready. Which a lot of things that I found out outside of after I got finished playing was that I was dealing with depression, I was dealing with anxiety, that I didn't know what it was. This is why I'm playing in the NFL, why I played in college, when I played in high school, that I didn't know that I was dealing with. Like even now, like I take medicine every day to deal with my anxiety and my depression, because I didn't know what it was I was dealing with when I was going and playing and couldn't, pretty much get through a game because of how my mind would work or how I would feel a certain type of way. So I really don't know. Like if I could have gotten that under control, I think I would be fine. But now I can't really answer that question because I wouldn't know if I would have that under control or not.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for sharing. Like that's, from us, like being Vikings fans and watching games and reading articles and whatnot, like we don't see all that type of stuff. But nowadays, like I feel like it's not as taboo to be talked about. Like, cause obviously everyone's human. They all have their own issues that they're dealing with. So, it obviously does make a lot of sense as to, if everyone's playing on a clean head and everything, sure, like talent takes over, but you don't just lose ability. So again, thanks for getting candid with us.
No problem at all. And one thing I'll say about that, because even when the people come to listen to this podcast or however y'all gonna post it, one thing I'm not looking for is sympathy. Y'all be hard on me. Like you talk all the trash you want. Don't, because I feed off that. All the trash that people talked about me not being able to catch, not being able to do this, I feed off that. That drives me into my into my livelihood now when it comes to my kids, my wife, my livelihood. So it's all good. I'm not looking for no sympathy from nobody. So I just wanted to share that because I know people now in this league now that NFL now that dealing with stuff that they don't know, they don't have an idea what they're dealing with. I just looked up by going to my doctor and him sitting down with me and giving me a test to find out that I was dealing with these issues, not even knowing. So it is what it is.
And it seems like it's something that like in the NFL, like, well, one, like if there's ever anything that happens, like they want to blame like the media or whatever, they want to blame CTE, for example. Whereas now at least, like, I don't know if you follow the NBA, but it seems like in the NBA, there's that discussion of mental health and kind of keeping that, like, obviously that's the first priority, because if, you know, you guys as athletes aren't feeling yourself, then like how are we as fans expected to see the best out of you? So I mean, hopefully that kind of makes its way to the NFL as well, where it's not as, you know, again, taboo to be like, hey, well, because everyone's got issues. We all know that. Doesn't matter. Like just because you're, you know, professional athlete, you know, getting paid big bucks, that you're immune to either criticism or whatever. So obviously being self-aware is a big part of it. But you know, and yeah, it's I mean,
since you touched on the CTE thing, one of the things that I want to talk about is this whole what I call it? Help me out, Bryant.
Well, like the testing process or what?
Testing process with CTE. And I have people, it's crazy because I feel like I know I have some issues when it comes to CTE. No doubt.
I'm sure going across the middle getting hit doesn't one hit you'll feel
right.
it.
And the thing about it is that I don't know if it's the NFL or whoever is over the whole thing.
They don't want to pay people because
they prowl on you.
I've tested and I've qualified for it. I've tested for it a while back and I qualified for it and I've got audited twice, and then they're telling me, but you're too active. It's like, I'm not a baked potato. I'm not going to just sit and I agree. It's certain things you still got to do. Actually, being more active in movement kind of helps you.
Right.
Instead of being stagnant and not doing anything. But they feel like, oh, looking at my social media, he moves right, he's too busy. He really can't be suffering too bad. But it's like, hello, you have to do things to keep you mentally sharp, do things to keep you physically sharp, like to keep your body and keep your mind going. Like they want you to just like do nothing, absolutely nothing, in order for them to give you the money. And then they ordered me twice. I cleared everything, and then it's still like, then he went to my Instagram like he's too active. So I think it's a bunch of BS.
And the thing about it though is, I know for me, because I've been audited twice also, and they tell me I'm too active, I'm doing too much. But what you expect me to do? We gotta live.
You gotta continue to live.
We have to. You gotta make money. I mean, what you expect to do? Just stop and don't do nothing to wait on y'all to wait 2 years to try to make things right. So that's one of the things I wanted to make sure I get across when it comes to this, is because I know for sure.
But we have the test scores to show that we qualified for it.
Well, can you guys talk about what is the test and then what is this auditing business? Like, what's the process?
It's like a neurological test you have to take. And that thing, one of them tests, because it's like two different tests. One of them tests is like 3 or 4 hours long.
Right.
And that's them asking you questions, or it's like
it's questions, it's like you got to fill in, but it keeps asking you the same questions like throughout the thing to make sure you're not just filling in anything. That's long. Another one, you sit with like a neurologist, he's asking questions. Right. They end up basically grading you out. And when you grade out a certain level, that means you qualify to be in that range of CT or whatever. And then in certain levels, and it will tell you what you would get paid based on if you get a 1, a 1.5, or 2, things like that. So that gets sent it to the NFL. They look at it, they review it. Then all of a sudden they start auditing you for different things, like different random stuff. So then I got audited twice, and then everything came back fine. And then it's like, okay, now somebody's following my social media, and they're like, he's way too active. There's no way. And it's like, huh? So we're just going to disregard all the testing and everything. The audit is like all those hours that came and showed y'all this. But by you looking at my social media, it's going to tell you something different. Doesn't make sense to me.
Which isn't real life. That's the best sides of someone's life.
Social media is I can give you 10 seconds of my life real quick, and that's it.
But I know, listen, the thing about it, the reason why I wanted to say this, because I know whoever auditing us is going to listen to this video.
To make sure you
make sure like they're going to like, he talking too fast, like he know too much.
Right.
But the thing about, we take tests. I don't took like 3 or 4 tests. We done it. So I know you're going to listen to this and understand that nothing has changed when it comes to me. We have to make a living. We have to do what we have to do. When it comes to supporting our family and to make a living.
And Mr. and Mrs. Auditor, if you're listening, this eerily reminds me of when folks somewhat similar concept when folks are entitled to food stamps or get some sort of assistance for food. And then people are like, well, what are you doing buying Pop-Tarts or something like that? It's
Right.
like, who gives a shit? They're eating food. Like, stick to your own business. I
Right.
hope and understand that. On the anxiety and depression thing, I want to point out the NBA does everything supremely, or at least more superior. Even getting the bubble thrown together in like a month's notice. And so Kevin Love comes to mind for his outspokenness on the matter of anxiety and depression. And then the NFL is kind of getting there too. The Vikings, especially, they made that their point of emphasis even today with Eric Kendricks announcing his commitment to some sort of mental health startup, and then Thielens do a bunch of that. So the Vikings are in good shape there. And then on a personal note, I have a lot of anxiety and depression in my family from family members that I learned from, and notably my great grandmother, who passed away about 25 years ago now. She had anxiety to the point where she was agoraphobic. And this was like, 70s and 80s. And like you're talking about, Troy, didn't know what the hell was wrong with her, just thought she was quietly crazy. And it wasn't until like her last, I want to say 8 years of life, that she got on Klonopin. And it completely changed everything. Like I remember vividly as a youngster, one time we went to her house and she wouldn't open the door, even though she knew damn well who my mom and I were. But once she started to get medicated on clonazepam, it was a game changer. So if some of you folks out there inevitably suffer from that type of malady, I know for a fact that in my family, Klonopin does work with the doctor's prescription. So Troy, I appreciate you bringing that up. My question, let's see here, if I can go back to football before we hop off air, is you said that you follow players more so than teams, and that's awesome. Give me some players that you follow particularly or that you enjoy right now in the NFL.
Well, I still follow Adrian Peterson. I mean, the guy that I played with in Minnesota. Lamar Jackson, Larry Fitzgerald, just some of the old heads / some of the new guys that's coming in. That's just me. I sit down, I turn on NFL Red Zone, and I'm watching my players, and obviously the players that I drafted when it comes to fantasy. So it just really just depends on what team playing and who I draft that year in fantasy football.
So how many leagues do you play? Just one?
Maybe 4.
Okay, so you're like Ron or I here, where you really get into it.
I try to. I mean, and we bet a little money. I mean, we probably have one. I think the highest maybe like a few $100 to $1,000 maybe. It depends on what league we in.
Okay.
Got to make it worth it.
Break
it down. It's got for like people who want to do like $20 leagues or whatever. It's like that's not even $1 a week. It's not worth my time. So.
Right.
Do you play with former players or just like your buddies and your?
Some of my buddies I went to high school with. We got maybe like 14 players in the league. So if you got 14 players, it's not too many. You got to really be able to pick.
Well, what about we got a 20-man league thanks to Dustin. So.
Oh my God!
Yeah, you won't believe this. Last summer I piloted, and I loved it. I think most people did. I did a 20-team league, and it was the most interesting thing in the world because quarterbacks started flying off the draft board like 10 minutes into the draft, and I notoriously wait to draft a quarterback. And once dudes started to go, I'm staring at like Tyrod Taylor, thinking this is gonna be my guy, and panicking, thinking like this is not how I designed this. But yeah, all right, let's start to wrap up here. Sally, what do you have for Troy or Bryant?
Well, Troy, I just wanted to say also thank you for sharing that. It's something I can definitely personally relate to. And the more people who speak about it, and especially people in your position who's a male and athlete, I think that really makes a difference. So thank you for that. And then, let's end on a lighthearted note. The two of you guys you guys were tight when you were here in Minnesota. He had your back. Do you guys have any funny stories of something that maybe happened in the locker room or Mankato or something cool that people don't really know about?
Well, I can tell you a story. Listen, now when it comes to Big Mac, like he really taught me like how to have a good time. Because when I first got to Minnesota, like I was always out, I stayed in my room, I stayed to myself. But when I first got drafted, I went down to Miami for I think Memorial Day weekend. And everybody always heard about was Big Mac. I'm like, who is this Big Mac? Oh, he played for the Vikings, like he's on your team, blah, blah. So I went to have a good time, and he really showed me how to have a good time. And that's what I patterned my life as of right now. So when I'm with my friends, like they call me like you can call me the mini Big Mac. So I make sure everybody have a good time.
Right.
Everybody's taken care of. So that's what I want to take for Big Mac, and I really appreciate you for doing that for me. I really
Seems like if you watch his Instagram, he's still doing that to this day.
Still doing it today.
Don't
I
say
know,
that.
right?
Brian,
Get audited. Don't say that.
everybody says great things about Brian. It's like Burleson was just so complimentary. So it seems like you really walked the walk, my dude.
Yeah, man, he really did.
I try to
wanna
make
get on your
everybody
bad
tight,
side.
come together in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we just have a good time at the same time being at work and just just having fun.
Yeah.
Alexis, do you have anything else for these gentlemen tonight?
Troy, who do you guys still keep in contact with from that team that year, the 2005, 2007 year? Anyone you're close with?
Theatric Phasing.
Okay.
There's a guy I talked to, Chris. I forgot his last name. Another receiver that came in with me, but I forgot his last name. But we always keep in contact, talking on Facebook. Was actually finna plan to try to get up before the whole COVID thing happened. So that kind of fell through. So we'll try to do that later on down the road.
Yeah.
And Bryant, you're tight with Moeldy Moore, Chester Taylor. Who else? Barbarian.
Bernard, Randy. I mean, there's a few guys. AP.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them came on the show already. Pat Williams.
Yeah.
Pat.
And then he knows everybody
love
that went to
Pat.
Miami.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Oh,
near
yeah,
Miami.
Pat came on already.
Yeah.
Oh, missed a good one.
He knows them all. All right. Well, that's all we got for tonight, Troy. We are very grateful you could join us. I hope that you will come back maybe when the season starts and we can
Anytime y'all need me, I'm here.
Oh, well,
I
we're going to
appreciate
take you up on that. This was
That's
excellent.
right.
Alexis.
I even joined one of y'all leagues if y'all need an extra person.
Well, hey, you better be careful
Hey.
with your words because I'm going to put your ass down on one of my leagues.
I'm
then.
with you. I got you.
Well, the
I
thing
got
is,
you.
I'm going to tell my friends that, hey, a former Viking is going to play, and they're going to be like, you're kidding. And then I'm going to try to reach out to you, and you'll mysteriously not respond.
Because Big Mac gonna make sure. Big Mac gonna make sure I respond. Like, make sure.
Okay. Well, hey, about 2 months ago, Warren Sapp was on here and says that he wants to go ice fishing with me.
Right.
And I'm waiting for receipts on if that's going to pan out or not. So,
Well, I want to go ice fishing too.
Yeah, Troy can go too.
and he was dead serious. Like afterward, I texted and I was like, "You're playing, right?" And he was like, "Hell no, I ain't playing." So,
Give me a reason to come.
If you follow him on Instagram, he goes fishing a lot.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
He has
that's what you do.
even on Twitter. It's either sap fishing or sap not
That
fishing,
not
or his
fishing, right.
or his Twitter.
Well, this is what I need y'all to do. I need all y'all to follow me on Instagram at
Mhm.
Troy L.
Yeah.
Williamson, and then I'll follow all you guys back.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I don't post anything. I only get tagged in like my kids stuff. But
It's cool, man. I don't really post that much either, so we
Okay.
good.
All right.
Well,
Well,
you better not. You're getting in trouble for all your posts.
yeah,
I know,
I
right?
gotta keep that on the down.
Troy, I can guarantee you'll hear from me on the fantasy football offer in some capacity. All right, homie.
Well, that'll work. I appreciate y'all, man.
All right. That's all we have for tonight.
Thank you.
Skol Vikings.
All right, Big Mac.
All right, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Later, guys.
So nice to
Thanks,
meet you. Thank
Alexis.
you.
Bye. Thank
Nice
you guys
meeting
for
you.
having
Okay.
me. It's nice meeting you all.
Oh, likewise.
Nice to meet you, Alexis.
See ya.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right.